liked it.
Thank you.
The film is really about a couple of things. It's about aging and how, for me, this is how I took it, aging, how it affects you reinterpret art that you've experienced throughout your life. How did you fall upon that as your subject?
It's well, you know, it's something at some point you have to deal with. I mean, you can repress it for a while, but at some point you end up facing the fact that it's there and you have to do something with it. I mean, it's not. I don't see it as painful or difficult as a writer, as a filmmaker, or as a man. I think it's tougher when you're a woman and when you're an actress. Women don't age the way they used to age, in the sense that, you know, I don't know, if this was a movie made in the 1930s, Juliette would be an old actress, you know, like on the downward path. We are, you know, in 2014. Juliette is a beautiful woman with, you know, with the youthful and, you know, and she has a million things to do. And so basically the process of aging, it's like opening a new chapter. But then you do have to open that new chapter. And it's not always easy to open a new chapter, but you have to do it. So it's, so you know, in that sense, what I've been trying to grasp is how also, you know, the world is changing, and how every single period, every single moment in history involves reformulating, reanalyzing, understanding things that are eternal and universal, like as basic as the process of aging. Because, you know, it's especially when you make movies, I mean, you know, it's some kind of license to remain like a teenager all your life or something like that, you know. but still, you can't dismiss the fact that time passes, you become a slightly different person, if only because you have more experience, and, you know, you have your view of the world grows more complex, you know, so you have to do something with that. You can't just pretend it's not there. It's there, and eventually it's good. It's a good thing. So again, you know, what I wanted to be able to share with Juliette was the idea that it might be a very positive process, that you know, there's something to gain there. There's something to, and eventually there might even be some joy or lightness in it.
The role was written specifically for her.
Yes, totally.
How did you, because the character is about what she does in real life, so how did you write the character to be differently from her specifically? That's
you know, Juliette is a friend. I know her, but I don't know her that much. You know, we don't you know, we don't go on holiday together. You know, we like us, we like each other a lot, and we have for a long time. But then, who Juliette is in real life is a completely different story. So what I am writing is part what she is, part I'm fantasizing, and the way she appropriates the part is by part bringing her closer to her, and part going into something invented, like a fiction of an actress she could have been but is not exactly. I mean, the thing is that it's exactly a space where she can have fun with the part, and which kind of really brings out the comedy element in the story.
I had read that the Wilhelm character is based on Bergman. Is that true?
He's this guy. He's a similar figure. He's a Bergman type.
I thought that was really interesting because as I was watching the film, I got kind of like hints of Persona. I kept thinking about Persona.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's when you start writing that kind of story, at some point you walk and you walk and you walk, and at some point you realize you are in Persona territory. So yes, I mean, it's I did not watch it again. I've been trying to forget about it, but then it just happens to be one of my favorite films of all time. So I can't completely dismiss it. But a movie like Persona is more like an archetype. It's a movie that can be made 10 times, 20 times, 30 times in different cultures by different filmmakers with completely different actresses, and it will always be something new.
Right. How did you end up writing the dialogue for the play that they're acting out? Because that was one of my very favorite things about the film is they're running the lines for the play, and then their relationship starts to kind of blend in with what the play is talking about.
It's the play came up very simply in a certain way. I wanted to write. I mean, once established that they were rehearsing, that we would be working on a play. Okay, so what's the recent play? What's the modern play which involves two women and creates some kind of interesting dynamic between those two, between an older and a younger actress? Well, there's the bitter tears of Betravan of Fassbinder. So I thought maybe I would use that play within the film, and then I realized, it just didn't blend because it's too much of a play. The writing is a bit too much of a writing. It's too written to feel simple and right and straight to the point. So I decided more or less to rewrite my own version of the Fassbinder play. I mean, it's of course completely different, but it's similar dynamics. It's just more brutal. It's shorter and more brutal.
How did you end up casting Kristen Stewart? Because she's excellent, and I would not expect her to kind of hold her own in the face of Juliette, but she's awesome. She's great. I mean, when you are like, sorry, I'm just, it's okay. It's melting.
Half melted. It's about trust, but a trust that goes both ways.
Right.
Because yes, I did trust her that she would be able to come up with a great performance. I mean, I wanted in front of Juliette someone who had the authority and the power, not exactly to intimidate her, but to challenge her. Right. I thought Juliette in that part needed to be challenged. If she was not challenged, somehow the movie would not have happened. She must overcome something. And of course, if I put in front of her someone who is a young actress at the peak of her fame, it emphasizes the dynamics, of course, of the story of the narrative. But then. Again, I mean, I've always been a fan of Kristen. I think I've always thought she was a great actress, underused. I've always had a sense that she could go much further than whatever she's done, and I still think that she will do things we have no idea of. But then it's a bet. And I had no idea what the chemistry would be. I had no idea what would happen once I put her and Juliette together. I mean, it's kind of exciting on the paper because it's like some kind of chemistry experiment. but it's it might as well blow up in your face. You know, you don't know.
Right.
But then I think what of course helped me, or you know, what was the key element is the trust she gave me. Because you know, I mean, at this point in her career, I mean, she can do almost anything she wants. I mean, she has a lot of options, to put it that way. And why would she go for this weird European film? You know, it's fairly abstract and dealing with stuff. I mean, she had never really had the opportunity to grasp. It's, I think she was taking chances. She was taking major risks, and she trusted me. So I thought, okay. I mean, you know, she's giving me a lot. I should be able to give her as much as I can. And like the minute I put them together. I mean, we started with the scene in the train. Mm-hmm. I mean, we started with the beginning of the film. Like the minute they were together, I understood it worked. I mean, I had no idea how far it would go.
How much of their dialogue is exactly as it was written?
They all made their own changes. We constantly made changes, and even often from one take to the other. Kristen, I mean, once she understood there was space for reinventing, for improvising, she grabbed it. I mean, you know, at the beginning she was really saying the lines, and you know, I said, you know, just Kristen, I have no ego as a writer. You know, just don't think of me as a writer. I'm writing stuff there because this is more or less what I want the character to express. Right. If you find if you find your own way to say those words and express that same idea, you know, it's much better. It's much more natural, spontaneous, and you know, and she was a little shy, and then gradually she started, you know, just grabbing the opportunities.
There are interludes, or what I thought about as interludes throughout the film of Sils and Maria. Mm. How did you come upon using them as interludes, like this montage of mountains and clouds? And also, there's the little clip of the 1920s film.
Yeah.
What's his name? Armand.
The cloud phenomenon, the Maloya cloud phenomenon. I mean, the existence of that small film is part of the reason I filmed in that landscape, in that area. It's because it's well.
How did you
I go there once in a while because I have friends who go on holiday there every year. So you know, a couple of times I joined them just to go hiking for a few days, and I love to hike. Absolutely uninteresting, but
hey, hiking is great.
But it's and you know, and one day I wake up because you know it's pretty high in the mountain. You don't sleep so well. So I wake up at dawn, open the window to watch like sunrise, and I see those clouds passing, and it's really, you know, it's really beautiful. I take my phone and I click, and don't think much, and don't think more about it. And then, like like a few months later, I'm watching this Arnold Fanck movie with Lene Riefenstahl, Storm over Mont Blanc on DVD, and the DVD has a bonus, and the bonus is this short film, the Maloya cloud phenomenon, and I remember that Maloya is the village on the other side of the lake. You know, on one side of the lake you have Sils, on the other side you have Maloya, and they say, oh, it's interesting. It must have been shot in that area, maybe, you know, I will recognize something. And then all of a sudden, I see those clouds, and I realize that cloud that I saw through my window is actually a famous cloud. That it has history. And that, you know, like a century ago, this guy had been filming it at a time when it was fairly complicated to do that, because you know, those clouds happen once, like a couple of times at the end of the summer season, something like that. So it's so you know, you had to climb with the equipment. You had to bring it to this chalet in altitude and wait there for the clouds to come. So it's not like when it's nowadays you get the weather report and which tells you that maybe tomorrow, the day after tomorrow, and then you take a helicopter, you go up there, you put your camera, you film it. It connected with a completely different time of cinema, a completely different era, and but still, it's what I liked in the film is that it show. I mean, it was the one thing that seems completely at a standstill is whatever the sky or the clouds are about, or the top of the hills or something. It's the mountain, top of the mountains. But here you have those clouds and those mountains frozen in time, with the inscription of time on the black and white and the scratching of the image. So I like the idea that here was a landscape with history, where somehow those clouds could be connected with the very notion of time passing in a poetic way today. Are the clouds, because obviously they refer to it as a snake. Yes.
Do they actually refer to it as that?
Oh, it's called the Maloya Schlange or whatever. Yeah, it means totally the Maloya snake. And I like and the word snake was very important.
Yeah.
Because you think of both mountain landscape as peaceful and as completely peaceful and innocuous. But then all of a sudden, they can also be about a snake. And all of a sudden, the presence of the snake means that there can be something more dangerous, or something possibly evil. You're not sure what, but that has to do with the history, with European history, with the fact that there are ghosts in those mountains. Ghosts of Nietzsche, ghosts of Rilke, but also ghosts of, we're talking Arnold Franke, we're talking movies of Leni Riefenstahl. This next step, it brings us, to extremely nasty memories of 20th century Germany.
Right. Your last two films were period pieces, basically.
Yeah.
But this is obviously a very modern now kind of story, and for me, when I was watching it, you rarely see films with as much current technology as this film has, and that adds to the aging aspect. But it was really it brought up really interesting ideas about how we interact with art and how we have access to all this information at this point.
Well, it's I'm portraying an actress, and an older actress, but also a younger actress. Their life is about, their life is part of their life is about celebrity culture. When you're actually, you have to deal with that. Before the internet, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, whatever, you did not have to deal with that stuff. Of course, you had a few celebrities that were in the tabloid and this and that, but it was not like just part. It was not something you had to be part of in a way or another, willing or not. From the moment you decided you wanted to be an actress, now it's one more layer of what being an actress is about. It's about knowing and to some extent controlling and managing your own avatar on the on the internet or on social media. And I think if that dimension had not been present, there would have been something archaic about the portrayal of an actress. And of course, it possibly has to do with the fact that because I had done two movies that were set in the 70s, all of a sudden I was just so happy to be able to deal with the present and show how our lives are changing. But ultimately, you say there's a lot of technology in this film, but yes, there's more technology than in the movies, but less technology than in our lives.
Right. It's not like a sci-fi film. It's very much in the moment and how we actually use technology. And it was kind of refreshing because you don't often see that in film because I think people are afraid of like placing a timestamp on films.
Yes, of course.
But I think I'm out of time.
Okay.
Well, I thank you so much for...